Okay, hi everyone. What we're going to do in this tutorial series is I'm going to show you how we can use 3D graphics, in this case Blender, to function as an exhibition design tool. This can be really useful if you're planning your own exhibition and you want to see how the works might look in the space, especially thinking about things like scale. You know, you might want to put people in there and kind of see how big the room actually is. Or it can also be useful if you're preparing a proposal, you know, and you want to show people how good this exhibition is going to look. What we're looking at on the screen here are some images I made in Blender during COVID. A friend of mine, his exhibition, I can't quite remember, it couldn't be installed for some reason, I think because of COVID. And so just for fun, I made him a virtual recreation of his exhibition as something that he and the gallery could use to promote the exhibition. Basically, I got a floor plan and I looked at the Instagram of the gallery to sort of get some of the smaller details in like the ceiling and the lighting system. And then I just got pictures of his works and I put, you know, wooden frames around them, like the same way that he frames them. And I made this, you know, reasonably accurate looking visualization of the exhibition. You can see, I think in one of these images, I put like, I think I got an image from Google Street View and put it out the window. It doesn't look, it doesn't look super accurate, but you still get a pretty good idea of how things would look. And if we go into the space here and just have a look around, we can really do quite a lot just with very basic information to get an idea of what an exhibition is going to look like. And I think this can be a nice excuse to teach yourself a bit of 3D modeling, even if you don't want to be an animator. I find in lots of my projects, often the first thing I do is if I know where the exhibition or the performance is going to be, I get a floor plan and I make a virtual version of the space just so I sort of know what I'm dealing with and how we might think of the space and how we might plan. And often you might encounter all sorts of different problems you might not have thought of just by making a virtual version first. So that's what we're going to do. So instead of this gallery here, what we're going to look at is the gallery where you're going to have your exhibition, which is at school, at the Kaitak Gallery. And conveniently, there's photos of the gallery online. So we have some reference photos. We're going to go to the site ourselves and take some of our own photos as well. And I've also got a floor plan. So if I come here, this is the floor plan that I'll share with you. And this is great because this gives us all the measurements we need to get started. And I've also got the ceiling height, which I'll show you in the video because that's one other thing we need. Here we've just got two-dimensional measurements. All we need is the three dimensions. All right, so let's begin. So I'm going to go into Blender and I'm going to create a new file. And first of all, I'm going to save that file. So I'll hit save and I'll go to where my teaching materials are. I made one before just as a test. So I'm going to call this one Kaitak Gallery Tutorial. .blend. Hit save. Okay, all right, so here we are. The first thing we're going to do is you might notice this little toolbar up here. This is a new feature that Blender has implemented called the Blender Kit add-on. It's really helpful, and I'm just going to get you to install that because we're going to do a few shortcuts to make this a little bit faster. So to have this little toolbar up here, you're just going to go into your preferences, and I think you just go into Get Extensions and you'll type something like Blender Tool. What's it called? Blender Kit, that's right, Blender Kit. And mine's already installed, but you should get the option here to install it. And just do that, and you might need to restart your Blender. That later on, that'll be useful when we do something like when we want to add in people. We can get a few of these like publicly licensed figures from the Blender Marketplace or wherever these are stored, and that can be really useful in saving us a little bit of time. Okay, but first of all, let's get started with modeling from our floor plan. So I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add an image reference. And I'll give you the link in the description, but it's going to be this file, AVA Gallery Floor Plan Copy. It's a JPEG file. And just add that in. Give it a second. It's a reasonably big file for an image. Okay, so it's come in, give my computer a second. Okay, it's come in at a bit of a sort of random angle. So first of all, we need that floor plan to be flat. So let's click on the image and press the letter N, and that will bring up our transform menu here. And you can see in the rotation that we've got a bunch of different numbers. We're just going to set all of those to 0. So just press 0, hit enter, press 0, hit enter. Alternatively, you can just left click, drag all of them and type 0, and you can affect all of them at the same time. Okay, so when I'm turning around the viewport here, I'm using my middle mouse button. Or if you're using a trackpad, just your 2 fingers on the trackpad will do the same thing. So I'm going to click on this gimbal here. If I click one of these axes, I'll be looking straight down that axis, which is known as an orthographic view. And we want to be looking from the top, because if you try to model in perspective, it's very hard to be accurate. The perspective distorts our ability to see the geometry accurately. So we're going to look from the top. And first of all, we need to have this floor plan the right size for the measurements that Blender has. What do I mean by that? Okay, so if I click on this cube, we'll see that its dimensions are 2 by 2 by 2 meters. And if we look on the floor plan, we've got all of these measurements in millimeters. So what we're going to need to do is, if I click on the floor plan and I press the letter S for scale, just tap it, you don't need to hold it, and then if I move my mouse out, we'll start to see that the floor plan gets bigger, or in a way it looks like the cube's getting smaller, but same. I can left click and that will activate that change. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my cube the same size as one of these intervals. So for example, we could look at this one, 6020, or 602 centimeters. So if I look on the x-axis here, which is the one going horizontally across my screen, I'm going to type x here, 6.02. Okay, so that is now 6.02 meters, or 6,020 millimeters. If I press G for grab, just tap it, and then I can move this cube over into this position. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, press middle mouse button and shift to pan my screen. And what I want to do is I want to basically size the floor plan till it matches this interval here of 602. So I'll left click on the floor plan and I'm just going to scale it, and I might even just G and grab the floor plan, and I just want to get this interval here, this 6020, to be the same size as my cube. This is just a kind of a quick and easy way to adjust the scale of the floor plan to match the scale of Blender. So that's 6020. We can check another measurement to see if it's correct. I'm going to press select my cube. So if I press middle mouse, I'll go back into perspective. I can see that I've got my cube. I'm just going to go back into top-down mode. I'm going to press Shift D, just tap it, and then left click to make that extra copy. And I'm just going to check this distance here, 8470. So that would be 84.7. Whoops, no, sorry, 8.47. That's a bit better. 8 meters and 47 centimeters. And I'm just going to press G for grab, and I want to make sure that that interval is correct. So I'm having a few little issues here, and it might be, I've got the thicknesses of lines here. I don't know if all of this is perfectly to scale, because when I look at this interval, it's not lining up quite as well. My logical brain says the longer the measurement, the smaller the margin of error. That makes sense to me. So I'm just going to use that 8470, and I'm going to scale this down, and I'm just going to match that. In the description of the video, I say we're making a pretty accurate reconstruction. It's not going to be 100% accurate. Now, if I bring this over, you know, that looks like a little bit different, but also I've got this door here, so I can't exactly see what's going on. It might be that the door is obscuring where this 6020 actually ends. Could be something like that. But anyhow, if I look at this 8470, that matches there. So I'm going to call that scaled and accurate, even though it's not perfectly accurate, but it's pretty close. All right, so I'm just going to look in my perspective view by pressing my middle mouse, and I'm going to delete these cubes. So I'll just click on the first one, X to delete, and just left click to confirm. Click on this one, X to delete, left click to confirm. Now I'm going to do a few other things. I'm just going to rename this empty here. That's actually, this is the outliner. These are all the things in our scene. There's the camera, which is, if I press G, it's that one. That's the light, and that is my floor plan. So I'm just going to name that floor plan. I've just double clicked on the name here and just typed in the name. Okay, and I also want the scale of the floor plan. I want to kind of finalize that scale. In Blender, that's called applying the scale. So object, apply, scale, and you'll see that nothing has changed here. It's the same size, but all these numbers now say 1, which you could understand that as it's 100% of its correct size. All right, so now let's start making our architecture. So I'm going to add a cube, Shift A, just tap it, mesh, cube. So we've got another cube in our scene now that is also 2 by 2 by 2 meters, which is the default. So let's look from the top, and I'm going to tap G for grab. I'll zoom in a little bit, press Shift and middle mouse to pan your view so you're looking at the cube. Now I'll scale it down. Now first of all, you might notice something a little strange on the floor plan. We've got a wall here and a pillar here, but we've got this other surface here. You'll notice this when we go and visit the site, but I think what's going on is that these walls here, these are actually artificial walls that have been built on top of the real walls. Because it's a heritage building, we've made this extra layer of walls that you can drill into and do all sorts of things without damaging the heritage listed building. So that's my understanding of what's going on in the floor plan here. And what that means is that's the wall that we're going to be looking at. We don't need to see the wall inside. Okay, so what I want to do is, first of all, I want to just S for scale, tap S, and I want to scale this cube till it's the same width as the walls. And then I'll pick somewhere to start, G, X. I'm going to just move it over, I don't know, the start of the fireplace. That sounds fair enough. These things here, they are the fireplaces, these old things here. Okay, so next thing we need to do is edit this cube and start making it into the wall. If I go into perspective mode and I press tab, you'll see that a whole lot of the buttons change, and that's because we're going from object mode to edit mode. Edit mode is where we make individual changes on the component level of the object. So in this case, we have vertexes. If I click here, we have edges, and if I click here, we have faces. You can also toggle between these modes just by pressing 1 for vertex, 2 for edge, and 3 for face. What we want to do is we want to basically lengthen this wall till it starts to be the correct shape for the gallery. We're going to go back into the top-down orthographic view. And first thing I can do, I can just press G for grab and then tap X, and I'm going to move it along till the doorway, which is here. Okay, shift middle mouse to just reposition my view. Now I'm going to press E, just tap it, E for extrude. What extrude does, if I show you here, it adds another face or another set of faces. And that's useful for us because later we're going to need to delete some of these faces where the door is, but we want our wall to keep going. Okay, so I'll just undo that. Let's do that again. E for extrude, left click. So I'm just going to end that where the door ends. E for extrude, I'll go to the fireplace. E for extrude, I'm just tapping it, I'm not holding it. Click, left click, and let's just keep taking this wall along. Tap E for extrude to that doorway, and tap E for extrude to the other side of the door, tap E for extrude. Now here I'm going to finish it where the fake wall starts. Tap E for extrude, I'll go to the external wall, and now I just want to go into perspective mode by just pressing my middle mouse button, grab that face, go back, go back to my top view, tap E for extrude, and we're just going to move our way down the line. These fireplaces, we might add them in or we might not. It really depends on how much detail you want to go to in your reconstruction. Well, what's going on here with these double lines? I just want to look through my wireframe. That's a little strange. There's another... What's happening there? Oh, it's possible that these walls are not aligned. Well, that's a little peculiar. Because that line, what I'm seeing, I didn't notice this before, is that that wall there is actually not in line with the wall there. Okay, I'm going to ignore that for now. We might come back and fix it, but we might also check when we visit the site that that's actually what's going on. It's very easy to fix, but I'm just going to keep going down here, and I'm going to here. I'm going to make sure I'm in line here. E for extrude. I might even just... No, I'll just go down here. That's fine. And then middle mouse to go into perspective. Grab that face. Back into top view. E for extrude to the doorway. E for extrude to the outside of the door. E for extrude. E for extrude. E for extrude. And now I haven't gone all the way across, so this time I'm just going to tap G and X. So I'm just moving it on the X axis all the way to that door. E for extrude. You can see I'm not being super precise. You know, does my door start on the outside of the line or the inside of the line? I haven't been super consistent. So this whole thing might be out by 0.5 centimeter here or there, but for our purposes right now, I think it's okay. GX, I just want to get that kind of in line with this line here. E for extrude. Okay, now middle mouse button, and look back to the top view. E for extrude, and we'll just tap E for extrude, go to the outside of the fireplace, tap E for extrude. I've gone a little bit too far, so G, Y, just to move it back down on the Y axis. Okay, here, what we can do here, because I want this line to line up with that line, and instead of just me guessing based on where the plan is, I'm actually going to use snapping here. So this tool here, it will mean that I can snap any edge here to any other edge here. So if I press G and Y, and I hold my mouse over any of these edges, it'll snap so that I'm perfectly in line with the other edge. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn my snapping off for a second, E for extrude. I'm going to turn my snapping back on and press GY and just snap it up there, just to make sure that these are in line rather than me just being very approximate. Okay, so let's look from the top again. I'll turn my snapping off, E for extrude, left click, tap E for extrude, left click, tap E for extrude to the outside of the fireplace. And here, we're actually just going to fill this little gap here ourselves. So what I'm going to do here is I'll press X and delete that face. Click on that face, press X and delete. And now I'm just going to press 2 to go into edge select. Going to click this one and this one, hit F for fill. I might just hide my floor plan so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just clicking this one and hold shift and left click this one, F for fill, and then same thing on the bottom, F for fill, F for fill. Okay, so now we have the border of the gallery. There's probably still a bit more to go. We also need to put in this wall here. But first of all, I want to remove where the doors are going to be. So if I go into edit mode, press tab, and make sure I'm in face selection mode by either clicking this third one here or pressing the number 3 on your keyboard, I'm just going to grab these faces and the one underneath, and I'm going to just make a gap every place there's a door. So holding shift and just selecting all of these faces. So there's 1, 2 there. We've got the main entrance here, holding shift still, middle mouse button every time I need to rotate my view, and then shift and middle mouse every time I want to pan my view, holding shift and just selecting those doorway faces, holding shift. It takes a little bit of getting used to this kind of middle mouse shift and then like clicking and scrolling, but it'll make sense eventually. Now that door there, I wonder, can that door be opened? This is where we kind of want to visit the site ourselves to check. I don't remember being able to open that door. I'm going to leave that door out and we can check when we visit. But I don't think there's a door there. I know there's one at the very end, but I'm not sure there's one we can open there. Right there. I can't see a door there. So let's go back. I'm gonna leave that one closed. And yeah, I may be wrong, but all right, let's just go with that. So first of all, I'm just gonna hide the floor plan and check that I've got all of the undersides selected. That looks good. Okay, now I'm gonna delete them. So X and delete faces. So same as before, we're just gonna fill in the holes. So go into edge mode, and I'm just gonna quickly shift left click F for fill. Oops, no, I'm filling the wrong way. Sorry, I want to fill the gaps here because these are going to be open, they're going to be doorways. Okay, so just 2 of the edges is enough. You can select all 4, doesn't really make a difference. We just want to have these doorways be open. F for fill. Okay, F for fill. And now if you can't zoom in enough, you can either go view frame selected, and that'll zoom in on whatever you've selected. Or if you have a numerical keypad that has the extra numbers on the right, you can press the dot, which will also frame selected. And it will just reorient your viewport around that object. Because sometimes it feels like you can't zoom in enough and you just need to reorient the viewport. So again, left click, shift left click, F for fill, and I think all of those ends should be closed now. We don't want to leave any of them open. Cool. Okay, so let's press tab to go out of there. The next thing we need to do is change the height of our walls. So at the moment, the walls are very, very low. Now, the actual height that I have on another document here is 3.38 meters. So what I can do here on the Z, if I select my walls here, I can just put in 3.38 and hit enter. Okay, and there's the height of my walls. Now, the only issue is that they're sort of half through the ground, half up in the air. We want these to be basically with the bottom starting here. If we look down the x-axis, what we can do is the Blender thinks that the middle of the object, that little dot, is, you know, in the middle of the scene. So it says its Z coordinate is 0. So what we can do is we can make that height half of the total height, and then the bottom should be on the ground. I'll show you what I mean. Basically, I want to put that 3.38 divided by 2, hit enter, boom, we're on the ground. Middle mouse, and let's have a look. That's looking good. Okay, we're starting to see the gallery. All right, it looks like I've forgotten one wall, which is this dividing wall here. If we have a look back in the gallery, we can see it in this photo. There's that wall. And one measurement we don't have, which we might need to check, is this height. I don't think I've got it listed on the floor plan, and that will be very important to know. So we can check that when we visit the site. Okay, so let's add in the wall here. what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, if I go into edit mode, I need to make some new geometry here so I can extrude it out. And we're going to use a tool called the loop cut tool. So you're in edit mode, so you press tab into edit mode, grab the loop cut tool, and we can click it here, and then I want to go into top view, and I just want to make sure that that loop is where the wall is. So I'll press G and X, and I'm just going to move it to where that wall is, and I've still got the loop cut tool on, and I'm going to do one more loop cut, press G and X, and move it to where that wall is. Okay, now I just want to turn off the loop cut tool, go into face select, and we're going to extrude out this face and take it all the way across. Are we? One thing actually, you know, looking at this floor plan, maybe what we want to do actually is, yeah, look, I think there are a few things on this floor plan that are that haven't been added in. Because if I look here, oh, sorry, upside down. Okay, if I look here, there's also this wall here. So we might have to measure that and just check what's going on, because that looks a little bit different. Okay, so we can make an approximation for now. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to add a loop cut here, and I'm going to just press G and Z and move that up a little bit. And yeah, all right. What we're going to do, what's the easiest way to do this? Yeah, actually, I think I know what I'll do. I'm going to go into top mode. I'm going to add a loop cut. Okay, I can't tell if these walls are in line with each other or not. This is a little tricky. Okay, all right. I'm going to do some guesswork here, and then we'll probably come in and fix it later. So I'm going to do a loop cut here. I'm going to turn on my snapping, and I'm going to press GX and just snap that loop cut there. Do another one, GX, oh, hold on, GX there. So they're in line, and what we're going to do for now, I'm also going to do a loop cut here and snap it to the same height here, so GX, just so that you can see it snapping here. It's just going to snap to this height. Okay, and what we're going to do is go into face selection mode, just going to make sure you're not in loop cut anymore, and we're going to, I think we will press E and then Y and just extrude out on the Y. Looks like my snapping is still on. I might just turn that off, look from the top, and GY, snap out to there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select this face, shift select that face, X to delete the faces, and I'm just going to shift F. I'm going to fill these. Now I know this is not exactly what's happening in the gallery, because I think there's a bit of thicker wall there, but that's what we're going to use for now. It's pretty close. Okay, so let's keep moving. Next, we're going to add in the floor. So first of all, I want to start to tidy up my scene a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on my walls, which at the moment are just called cube, and I'm going to call them walls. And I'm going to press M for move, and that's going to bring up this move to new collection. I'll click new collection, and I'm going to call this one architecture. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the floor plan. M for move, new collection, floor plan. And that's put the floor plan in a folder called floor plan, the architecture in a collection called architecture. And the nice thing with that is we can just turn these floor plan things on and off. Of course, we could just hide it, but once you start to have more and more objects, it's really useful to just be able to turn entire collections on and off. So that's the first thing we're going to do. This collection here, I might just call it, it's already there, lights, cameras. That's probably okay for now. So let's add in the floor. I'm going to look from the top again. Shift A, going to add a cube. And we've got another cube there, 2 by 2 meters. Let's just do some quick snapping. I'll go into edit mode, face selection by pressing 3, turn my snapping tool on, and I'm going to press GX just to snap to the exterior of that side. GX, GY to snap to this edge, and GY to snap to that edge. Okay, so now we've got the right shape for our floor. Let's make it a lot thinner. 0.2, we'll make it 20 centimeters, and I'll just GZ, get it below, and then with my snapping still turned on, I'm just going to snap it GZ, so it's just sitting on the floor. Okay, so now we're getting a lot closer. And this is where I'm going to do some quick little cheats using this great new Blender Kit add-on. So usually I would be showing you how to make textures and make materials, but I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. Some of you might know how to do it already, some of you might not, but I want to keep this tutorial series pretty quick. And it's 2025, so let's use the Blender Kit add-on. All right, so let's have a look at our gallery. Well, first we've got wooden floors. So let's see what happens if we put in floorboards. I want to look in materials, which is this one. I'm going to hit enter. And that could not be less like a floorboard. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, let me try that again. Floorboards. Enter. Okay, here we go. If I hover over them, we can see sort of how they look. There's probably lots and lots of them. None of them will be perfect, but let's find something that's chabador, close enough. That looks pretty good to me. Wooden floor. Okay, so going to click on that for Blender. Let's let Blender do its thing. I think it's going to download it. And if we don't see anything, we're just going to go into Material Preview. And okay, it's already added it to our object. Now, there's lots of editing we can do to this. If we go into the shading menu and I click on my floor, okay, so this is the floorboard that someone else has made for us. It's actually, wow, it's a procedural texture. That's pretty awesome. I thought it would be based on a photo, but it's not. It's procedural. Well, that's really cool. And that's a really handy thing about the Blender community, that someone has made that free for us to use. Okay, so let's use that for now. It might not be exactly what we need. We can always change it later, but wow, okay, that's really cool. All right, so there's our floor. I think it's a good idea to add paint onto the walls. I'll show you why. Walls are never white. You know, nobody paints their house plain white. Doesn't look nice. It looks a bit cold, gets dirty very easily. Lots of reasons you don't paint your walls white. When I did this gallery, I also used like a drywall texture of, you know, like a slightly rough off-white wall, and it looks much more realistic. You'll see it in some of the close-ups. You can see that little bit of texture there. So let's see if we can find something else like that in the Blender Kit. So let's put in like drywall. What's that? I'm going to select my walls just so it goes in the right place. Procedural drywall, drywall plaster. Yeah, let's try the first one, procedural drywall. Okay, so that's also a procedural texture. We can talk about what these are in class. It means they're internally generated. And okay, the mapping on it is not quite right. It's much more, the texture's way bigger than it needs to be. So we can do a few little fixes there. First of all, we're going to apply our scale. So because we did all of this modeling, I'm just going to hit Object, Apply Scale, and that has evened out the texture a little bit, but it's still far too rough. So I think, depending on how this has been mapped, I should just be able to go into this part and put the scale at like Am I going in the right direction or am I going in the wrong direction? Let me just check. That's okay. I was going in the right direction. Let's put it at 50. Okay, it's a bit better. It's probably still a little bit too rough. So what we can do, we can look at how they built it and go into our bump, which will be here. And I'm just going to turn the strength of these down a little bit, so it's not so rough. So I'm going to put these numbers to 0.5 and that to 0.5. That should do the trick. Maybe I'll put them even lower, 0.2. Yeah, that's better. It's a bit more wall-like. Okay, the final thing we're going to do is we're going to add a person. So let's click on, oh, sorry, not there. We want models here. I think that's, yeah, find models. I'm going to put standing person, hit enter, see what we find. And, you know, I have no idea what these are all like. Looks like there's plenty of them. How about human Francine? We'll put in Francine. So I'll just click on that and then Francine has popped in. I'll just close that menu. Now, a few things we'll need to clean up. Let's just check that the height is correct. You know, depending on how someone's made their objects, they might have made them like in millimeters instead of meters. You might have a figure drop come in that's a giant or too small. If I click on Francine here, it says she's 1.77 meters tall. That's fine. That looks like normal person height. I'm going to look down the x-axis, press Z and look in wireframe, make sure she's standing on the floor, which she is. And that's also because we put our floor kind of at 0. Oh, if you see me switching between these views, I'm just tapping Z and going between, you know, wireframe, solid, material preview. You can also do this here. Wireframe, solid, material preview. Rendered at the moment probably won't look great because we don't have any lights in our scene. Or I think we have one. All right. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's just do a little bit of a tidy up on those floorboards. They're, to me, they're looking a little bit rough and a little bit big. The floorboards look thicker than our floorboards are. So let's see if we can do the same trick and just change it here by just adjusting the scale on the mapping of this a little bit. What if I put that at like 4? Maybe that's a bit small. So let's 2. That looks a little bit closer. There's other things, like if we can compare these, you know, there's probably still quite a bit of difference, but we're close enough to at least be in the right area. So what I'm going to do, I'll finish this video here, and then in the next video, we're going to start adding details and so on. So just make sure that you've saved your file, and I might even just, okay, so this human figure Francine has popped in her own collection called Francine. I'm just going to rename that to people, just in case we end up bringing in more people. I'll drag that out here so they're all kind of on the same hierarchy level. And now that's looking nice and organized. Okay, so if I bring back in my floor plan, you can see that we already have, yeah, my floor plan file. I might make it a bit smaller because it's kind of creating a little bit of unnecessary lag in my computer. But all right, you can see that we've got the basics of the gallery set up. The next thing to do will be to start adding more of the details. And it's the details that will really start to make it look good. And that's also why we're going to visit the site and have a look for ourselves. Okay, I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.